And welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you 10 stool designs in Minecraft, as well as some of the tips and tricks I use to make them. So a lot of these designs are using an armor stand trick, and if you want to see how to do that, stick to the end of the video because I'll be doing a full tutorial on that after I'm done showing you all the designs. So the first design I want to show you is probably the most simple you can get and still look good. All you have to use is a pressure plate. I've opted for the iron pressure plate and a fence post. Now this can be any color fence post. I just used the basic oak wooden one. And I really like this design because the pressure plate isn't as big as a full block. You can see that here on the piston. There's 1 pixel of a border difference between the pressure plate and the full block. So it just makes it look a little bit smaller, and it's a lot thinner than a trap door. So I just think overall it works really well for adding in a little bit of extra detail. And the second one here is a bit bigger stool. I've toned up the base of it by moving from a oak fence to a stone wall, because the top of it is a trap door, which is much thicker and 2 pixels wider than the pressure plate. So I think as we move into a bigger just top of the stool, we need to increase the base as well. And since the cobblestone is a darker gray, I opted for the dark oak trapdoor just because I think those colors match up together fairly nicely. Now on to the next design. This is the basic stool design. Now one of the things you can do with this build is you can take slabs and place it all the way around it, because what I found actually looks pretty cool is having the piston actually a little bit above the build, above the floor. So if your full floor plan is made out of slabs, this is a fairly good stool to use just because it'll add that little bit of extra detail. But even without it, I think it looks really good. Now you can put things like carpets and just any other type of trapdoor, but that might look a little thick if you're using a trapdoor. I've opted for just a simple wooden pressure plate that just matches the texture while still adding a little bit of detail. Now, this one, it all depends on how you look at it. This is an armor stand with a helmet on it. But if you look at it from the back and the sides, I can definitely see this as a stool with a lot of detail into it. But it's really up to you. If you look at this and you say, well, that's just a helmet on an armor stand, don't use it. But for those of us with a imagination, I think that this looks really good, and you can use it for all different colors because you can dye the leather cap. Now onto this some more advanced stools. So we'll start over here. This is just an upside down quartz stair block with a birch trapdoor on the side. I really like this. It looks good in modern scenarios, and I like the detail of the stair block just having this gap here. I think it looks really good. Now we have a more simple design here, just that's kind of copying the same principle here but adding it back to it. It is just a spruce fence post with a spruce trapdoor on top and a spruce trapdoor on the back. This is probably one of the designs I use the most just because it's really simple but still looks really good, and I like the added detail of having the back on it here. Now this one, you might not really realize how special it is at first, so let me explain. This is a slab block. Now you cannot place any block but that slab block underneath it. So how did we get all of this detail underneath it that still makes it look like a stool? You'll see that it even looks rounded at the base. This, we're using armor stands to actually make the base of the stool, and this is a really good design in my opinion because it's only 1 block tall. It's pretty hard to do. Takes a little bit of effort to make it, but I'll show you how to do that at the end of the video. Now this design I really like. It's kind of using the same principle as these two because it has a slab on it with a backing of a trapdoor and a fence post underneath, but what we've actually gone for here is we've put in paintings. Now if you like this, remember my favorite chair in all of Minecraft from the last video uses these same paintings on it, but I just really like how these paintings complement the quartz slab, and I've opted for a birch trapdoor on the back of this slab to make up the back of the stool instead of a painting, just because I think it is a little bit much if you have paintings on all of the sides. So now on to the last 2 stools. These are a little bit more advanced designs. We're going to start with the one on the right. This uses a stone wall as well as just the armor stands to detail it. I really like the way that looks. And then we just use 4 trapdoors in this layout to make the stool itself. That way you have your armrests and a back for your back to rest on. Now, for this chair, it may not look too difficult, but believe me, there's a little trick here that you would not have thought of unless I showed you it here. We have just the typical Minecraft stair with the signs all around it to make a chair, and we have armor stands as the base of the stool. But what you don't see here is if the armor stands were directly underneath the pillar or underneath the chair, it would poke up through here. So you'd have just like a little notch coming up out of the chair, and that would not have been comfortable to sit on at all. What we've actually done here is we've straddled the armor stands between these 2 blocks to make it come directly up through the tall part of the stair block. So those are all the designs that I have for the stools. If you guys aren't interested in learning how to use the armor stand trick, then thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video. But for those of you that want to learn how to do this, I'm going to run a quick tutorial on how to do it right now. So I'm just going to show you the basic premise of how to do it. What you do is you place all the armor stands in the ground. Now to do that, you just build up 2 blocks tall and then alternate the directions you're facing the armor stands. And then once you have them like that, then you put a wooden block or whatever block you're trying to push down over the armor stands, and then you use a piston to push the block down onto the armor stands. Now then you put a second block down there, and once you get rid of all that, then you can get rid of the block and you have the armor stands there. But for the example we're using here is we're just going to put a slab on top of it. So what we need to do is we need to place a slab up top there. Then we need to place our piston facing downward with something to activate it. And there we go. We have our own armor stand chair in Minecraft. Now, if we want to use the armor stands in this scenario, it gets a little bit more difficult. I'm going to try to remember how to do this first try, but we'll see. So we start off by placing in our armor stands, just normally. Now, the trick here is you need to have a block placed here, and then you need to activate a piston facing the block. So what this is going to do is it's going to push the armor stands in, but something you need to be careful about is if you unpower the piston, it will pull it all the way back. So what you need to do is you need to power the piston, pushing it in this direction, and then get rid of the piston, and then you'll have the armor stands in the right place. Now you can build up this part, and you can grab the stairs and place the stairs wherever you want them to be facing. Build up the pistons once again, and once you have the pistons facing down, you can activate it, and there we go. We have our own stool using an advanced armor stand trick. And on the back, you will see it kind of coming out a little bit here. So what I do is I just put a sign on it to cover it up. And there we go. That's how we make these 2 stool designs. I feel like this armor stand trick's fairly self-explanatory. And for this one, we just push down a cobblestone wall on top of it instead of any other block. So without further ado, that's all I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you learned something today, and I hope you plan on using some of these designs in your own builds in the future. I spent a little bit of time coming up with these, so I hope you guys like this format of video. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.